Welcome to our Release 18.6 webinar. The features demonstrated within this webinar will be released in version 18.6 of PeoplePlanner and Catalogs. On the agenda for today, we will be looking at fixed invoices and the general improvements that have been made to the functionality. The employee portal have been updated to now allow unavailability requests. We will finally finish off by looking at user restrictions on the new timeline planning screen. On the screen are some of the key changes that have been made to the fixed invoicing functionality. The process of generating fixed invoices has been improved and will now allow users to generate fixed invoice run periods without having to remain on the invoice management page. Ad hoc invoices can now be produced alongside fixed invoice. An invoice grouping of customer will consolidate all fixed invoices for that customer on the generated invoice run under one invoice number. The ability to add an external ID has been added for both fixed invoice types and ad hoc invoice types. Fixed invoice values will now appear on our standard invoice exports, which include Cashflow, Sage, Xero, and Excel. On the employee portal, as well as requesting holiday and availability on the weekly view, employees will now have the option to request unavailabilities. A new modules and function has been added to ensure that certain users will only have a read-only access to the new timeline planning. This will ensure that the users can use other areas of the system without making any changes to your rostering. And now for our first demonstration on fixed invoices. In order to configure fixed invoices, please download our document on fixed invoices from the Access Support community. To produce a fixed invoice, you will come to Finance, Invoice, and Management. You will select the correct invoice run. As part of our update for 2018.6, when you click on the Generate option to generate your fixed invoices, you can maneuver away from the page and come back later on to check that the fixed invoice values have been generated. As part of this new release, ad hoc invoices can now be used alongside fixed invoicing. To add an ad hoc invoice, we're going to come to Finance, Customer, Service User, and Find. Using the arrow against the service user's record, we're going to come to the funder area. Drilling into the relevant funder, we're going to come to Ad hoc Invoices. Use the plus button here to add on an ad hoc invoice. You'll enter the start date of when the ad hoc invoice should run from. If your ad hoc invoice end date is open-ended, this will ensure that the value for this ad hoc invoice will appear on each consecutive fixed invoice you produce for the customer. In this example, my invoice value will be -50, as I would like to deduct £50 from the fixed invoice value when produced. Once you've entered any relevant notes, you click on the Save option. So now coming on to Finance, Invoice and Management, we're going to select the correct invoice run. We're going to generate the invoice period. And what you should see is that along with the fixed invoice, we've also got an ad hoc invoice value against it. Once the invoice period has been generated, clicking on the printer icon, we're going to change our delivery method from paper to all and click on Export to produce our fixed invoices. In this example, where an ad hoc invoice has been added to the customer's record, the ad hoc invoice details area highlights whether or not any ad hoc invoices have been included against this fixed invoice period. When invoices produced for a particular customer has been grouped by customer, this will ensure that all service users with the same customer will appear on the same fixed invoice. To demonstrate how one can group their customers by customers, we're going to go into the main PeoplePlanner window and go into the customer's record. To group customers' invoices by customer, we're going to come to Service User, Customer, and Find. We're going to select the arrow of the customer's record. Coming onto the Invoice tab, we're going to choose our invoice grouping as Customer and save. When producing an export for fixed invoices or ad hoc invoices, you may want an external ID or a nominal code to appear against those fixed invoices. To do this, we're going to come to Settings, Finance, Invoice, and Fixed Invoice Types. Using the arrow against the relevant fixed invoice type, we're going to enter our external ID and save. To configure an external ID against your ad hoc invoice types, we're going to come to Settings, Finance, Invoice, Ad hoc Types. We're going to use the arrow against the relevant ad hoc type, enter our external ID, and save. Fixed invoices will now appear on our standard exports. To demonstrate this, we're going to come to Finance, Invoice and Management. We're going to select the correct invoice run. We're going to use the arrow against the invoice period. In this area, clicking on the export icon, we're going to go to Export Invoices to Excel. On this document, we can now see that our fixed invoice value will show on this export. Employees can now request unavailability on the employee portal. Once logged on to the portal, you will select My Availability, Add Availability, Request Unavailability. In this area, the employee will choose the relevant unavailability type, choose the relevant unavailability period, choose the period in which they will be unavailable, click on the Request option. Upon request, this unavailability will be sent back into PeoplePlanner and CareBlocks, so a manager will then need to approve the unavailability in order for said record to appear within the employee's record. In order to approve the unavailability request, we're going to come to HR, Portal, and Management. When a request has been made, the employee unavailability request area will appear with a red icon. Clicking into the areas, you will see information regarding or relating to this unavailability. To approve or reject an unavailability request, you will tick the relevant box, click on the green Smartie, come to Approve, Yes or No. When the option of No is selected, the unavailability will be rejected. In order to allow employees to request unavailability, this option must be configured against the employee portal in the Settings area. To demonstrate this, we're going to come to Settings, Other, Portal Settings, and Employee. Using the arrow to select the portal, we will need to ensure that the employee unavailability option has been ticked. Once ticked and the configuration is saved, at the top of the screen you can click on the unavailability type area and you can tick off what option of unavailability the employee will have the option to request. New functionality has been introduced to ensure that our user will have read-only access to the new timeline planning screen. To configure this option, you'll come to the Settings area, come to Other, Profile and Users, and Users. Selecting the relevant user, we're going to come to the Modules and Functions area, choose Planning. Scrolling down in this area, you will select the option of Updatable Timeline and save. When this restriction has been set against a particular user and that user has entered the new timeline planning screen, each visit that appears within the screen will be non-editable. For example, if you were to double-left click into a shift, the user will not have access to change the start date, start and end time of the visit, or any other information relating to the visit itself. Thank you for watching.